Lewis Hamilton has done it. Lewis Hamilton has won his first race at Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton has won his first race in a year and a half. Lewis Hamilton has told his doubters, shut up. Shut up. How dare you call me washed? How dare you say I'm ready to retire? Last 3 races, who's been on the podium consistently? Hamilton P2, Hamilton P2, Hamilton P1. Talk on his name correctly or don't speak at all. A generational talent in 2027 is still winning races in 2026. That is not normal. That is not normal. You can't call him washed. What a win. What a drive. Dominant. He was ruthless. And the Ferrari strategy was perfect. Everyone else was doing 2 stops. A couple other drivers joined him with a 3-stop. And Ferrari knew that they didn't have the tyres to hold out for a 2-stop. So they decided to do a 3-stop. Yes, they were a little bit lucky with the timing of the VSC. But that being said, when Hamilton came out of the pits after that VSC from Alonso's DNF, which I'll talk about the reliability side of things later. But when Hamilton came out of the pits after Alonso's DNF caused a virtual safety car to come out, Hamilton was exactly 1.5 seconds ahead of Russell. By the end of the race, he was 20 seconds clear. That has nothing to do with luck. That's pure pace and pure consistency. I was saying Ferrari don't have it in them. I was saying P5, P6 is what they can hope for. God, was I wrong. God, was I wrong. Wow, what a performance, man. This was, in all fairness to me, this was all before I knew about the upgrades that they were bringing for the Grand Prix. But that being said, I still didn't think that they would work so well. I didn't think those upgrades would work so well. Because, oh my gosh, what a victory, man. Oh, I'm going to talk about everything. I can talk about how we started on the soft tyres. I was like, why? Why on earth would you do that when we've seen throughout qualifying the soft tyres literally had 1 lap in them? But somehow, he was still only able to be pushed back by about, I think it was 3.5 seconds from Russell, who was on the better tyre, the tyre that's meant to last longer. And then he pits in, his second stint, he goes on a hard tyre. He's like, okay, cool. I can do this. Let me work this tyre, push it to the limit, boom. Pushes it to the limit, goes on the hards again. Absolutely rinses those hards. And luckily, just in time, Alonso comes out Alonso has to stop with a DNF. Virtual safety car comes out. Hamilton actually misses it first time round because he was just past the pit lane entry. Second time around, pits in, comes out 1.5 seconds ahead of Russell. And the rest is history. We have to have a word about George Russell. I'll get to that again in a second as well. But let's focus more on Lewis Hamilton and what he's done today. He has now broken the record, yet another record, for the most wins in Catalonia. He was matching Michael Schumacher. That is now his record and his record alone. Another record he snatched that was existing before his time. Like, come on, man. Anyone saying he's washed is just disingenuous at this point. Anyone saying that it's always the car that makes him perform is just being disingenuous at this point. Because if you watched the race today, you cannot say that this same car that we've been seeing throughout the season to be off the pace everywhere could be so dominant. Lewis Hamilton. And if you want to say it's the car, then what happened to Leclerc? Yes, he had a hydraulics issue at the end, which caused him to DNF. But before that point, he was already 45 seconds off the pace. He was already 45 seconds behind Lewis. So that is not an answer. That is not a solid excuse. What a drive, man. And now the championship's hotting up. Kimi Antonelli with a DNF, which means Hamilton's now gained 25 points. Russell gained 18, but Hamilton's gained 25. The gap's only down to 41. Do I hear an 8th title in the chance? Never say never. Hey, I said Ferrari were going to be 5 and 6 today. So maybe my predictions are a bit off. But with this sort of momentum and this sort of consistency already in these last 3 races, why would I have any reason to say that Ferrari can't win this WDC? What is stopping me from believing this? What a drive, man. What an amazing achievement from him. Let me speak about some other cars for a second. Let me speak about Mercedes. What happened? They just had no answer for Ferrari. And, well, Lewis Hamilton in particular. They had absolutely no answer for him. As in, the first stint, Russell looked like he was managing tyres a lot of the time. He was managing tyres quite a bit. And then they decided to box him to cover Lewis, which, I mean, fair enough. But I believe Russell had a lot more in those tyres. So he wanted to do a longer stint there and then deal with it on the next 2 to cover himself off from Kimi Antonelli as well. Didn't work out. I mean, he stayed in front of Lewis, but Lewis pitted again. Lewis was doing a 3-stop rather than the 2-stop. And at that stage, there was just nothing. By the time Russell was going in for that 3rd pit stop, Lewis Hamilton was already about 8 seconds behind or 7 seconds behind. So he'd already closed most of that gap up before Russell had his second set of pit stops. And then Hamilton, obviously, further in front. VSC happens because of reliability. And Russell can never catch up. And then at the end of it, you have the battle between Russell and Antonelli. Antonelli actually gets past Russell. Antonelli was actually past Russell before his DNF. Before Antonelli's DNF, Antonelli was ahead of Russell on track. And 1.5 seconds clear, so it wasn't even that close. He made the overtake. Antonelli was biding his time. He made the overtake. Which says, what for George Russell? Because yes, as I was saying in my previous video, George Russell needed to beat Kimi Antonelli. But the way he's done it today, I don't think he'd be happy with this. And I don't think this scuppers Antonelli's momentum either. Because he didn't do it on track. He was the only reason he beat Antonelli today was because of a DNF. He didn't do it on track. Which means Kimi Antonelli would still have the momentum of being the faster driver. Up until his DNF, he's going to be happy and confident going into Austria. For sure. For sure. Oh, man. Antonelli, it was a solid drive. He started P3. He never really challenged Hamilton. Definitely challenged George on multiple occasions. And then passed him to get into P2 before his unfortunate DNF. And same lap, actually, that Leclerc lost all hydraulic pressure and had to retire as well. So the Mercedes didn't have a great time. Norris snuck into P3. Honestly, he was close to the Mercedes, but again, I thought Mercedes and McLaren would be way further up the road than they were today. I thought it would be a McLaren-Mercedes fight for that podium, with Red Bull being there and thereabouts, with Ferrari being way off. It was the complete opposite. Jesus, man. It was Ferrari cleaning up the show, Mercedes picking up the pieces for P2, and then Norris probably was surprised himself, even finding himself on the podium realistically, man. But yeah, Max P4 as well. So credit to him. He done the similar sort of strategy with a 3-stop, different tyres because he didn't have 2 sets of hard tyres to use. So a bit unfortunate for Max. He didn't really have the tyres to fight and get further. But that being said, he was already like 20 seconds off Norris, let alone Lewis Hamilton. So he was never really competing. He was never really competing with them guys. So it was a masterclass of a showing. A masterclass of a showing from Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari. Strategy perfect, lap times perfect, consistency perfect, time management perfect. Can't say they put a foot wrong. Can't say they put a foot wrong, man. McLaren, Piastri, nowhere to be seen. Oh, wow. Piastri's been way off it. Norris was off it, but lucky to get the podium. Max was off it, but again, I didn't really see them competing up the front like that. Even though they have the best powertrain according to the FIA, I still didn't see them competing for this victory. So maybe, and competing for the podium. I was saying they'll be roundabouts for the podium, but yeah, it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be. And Leclerc, hydraulics issue, caused him to retire. We've had a lot of reliability issues. I was saying this in another video as well. Reliability is taking a lot of the racing away from us. And it's unfortunate. And yes, I know it's the new regulations. And I understand because it's the new regulations, we're going to see a lot of these mishaps. We're going to see these engine problems and that, whilst they understand how to maximize the efficiency, whilst also ensuring that their reliability is top notch and like a minimal factor in racing. But as it stands right now, we're losing a lot of drivers to reliability. It's not fun. This race, I think there were about 13 drivers who finished the race, and only about 7 of them were on the lead lap. So it is ruining the fun, and this track isn't amazing for overtaking. Like that, it's pretty much that main straight. You saw a few overtakes in other sectors, which was really great to see, but a lot of the racing again was taken away from us because of the reliability that we saw. Aston Martins couldn't finish the race. I think the Williams, I'm not sure if it was both Williams, but I know Albon couldn't finish the race at one point. And maybe he came back in, but he was already like 12 laps down or 12 minutes down. So essentially didn't really finish the race. I think at least 1 or 2 of the Cadillacs couldn't finish the race. It's getting repetitive now at this point. Hopefully as the races go on, we can see more cars finishing, and we see much better racing, much closer racing, much more competitive racing, as the reliability is no longer a factor. So we can see longer lasting races and battles between each team. But what I will say is, for a team that looked down and out last week, no, not even last week to be fair, they looked solid last week in Monaco. But for a team that before anyone saw anything on P1 first practice, this really looked like a Mercedes. On paper, it should have been a Mercedes victory. McLaren there and thereabouts, because this is meant to be their forte. This is meant to be their ground. This is meant to be their bread and butter in terms of medium speed corners, longer lasting corners, which meant tyre dead was one of the factors. I mean, that being said, I believe the McLarens actually did pretty well with tyre management. They just had no pace. They had no pace. Nothing to show, nothing to match the Ferraris. They were matching the Mercedes. They weren't faster than Mercedes. They were definitely matching. But Ferrari was just something else today. Those upgrades that they brought have played a big role. A big role. Not too sure why they haven't played a big role for Leclerc. Maybe maybe understanding his new brake discs, the carbon industry ones that he's using now, instead of the Brembo ones. That was a factor, but he was way off it before the DNF. So a lot for him for that side of the garage to really figure out what went wrong, analyze the data, definitely analyze what went well on Lewis's side and try and adapt some of that. Because if he was saying that he was going to use similar setups that Lewis was from the previous race, and that's what he's done here, he's got maybe there's something else that he needs to do, because that's not it. That wasn't it. Oh boy. Oh man, I'm so happy for Lewis, man. I'm so happy for Lewis. Last season, I remember him speaking so negatively about himself, saying he was nowhere, he was off the pace, he doesn't have it anymore. Maybe he's time for him to stop. Maybe, I don't know, man, but everyone was saying, man, remember who you are. Remember who you are, Lewis. And god damn it, did you remember who you are. God damn it, did you remember who you are, man. What a win. What a drive. What a talent. I say it again, man. The guy was a generational talent in 2007. The year is 2026. He is still winning races. It's 19 years old. His career is old enough for a driving license in the UK. His career span is old enough for it to buy beer, to drink alcohol. He's winning races. in the time span that he has joined Ferrari, he's the first Ferrari driver to win a race. Now, what does that say? What does that say? Leclerc was also saying that this is the most competitive and this is the most driven that he's felt the Ferrari team being in a long while since he's been there. What does that say? Lewis Hamilton is a game changer. When Lewis Hamilton goes to a team and the team listens to him, the team performs. The team performs. And, oh man, oh, I'm so happy for him. What a victory. What a man. What a drive. And I was speaking about, okay, aside from that, let me speak about the other race drivers for a minute. What I will say is, congratulations to Alpine and congratulations to Racing Bulls. Both of them, reliability wasn't an issue. Both of them double points finish. Both of them, that midfield battle really heating up. They're really pulling away from the rest of them, I guess. And it's solid performances. That's what you need, because as you've seen, reliability is such a factor that if you can just finish a race, you have the chance of scoring points. That is so mad. That is so mad. That all you have to do is finish a race and realistically you have a chance of finishing in the points. The reliability needs to get better. It will over time, but right now reliability is too big of a factor in these races. But what I will also say is, unlucky for Gabriel Bortoleto, just missing out on that top 10. Hulkenberg DNF, both Aston Martins DNF. Is it both? I think Cadillac, Bottas DNF, and Perez finished last, but like 3 laps off the pace. Albon finished the race, but he was 11 laps off the pace. So did he really finish? Not really. Sainz was 2 laps off the pace. Ocon as well. Ocon finished the race, but again, not really much showing. Ocon's had a really, really bad spell recently, man. He's out of the points. He's not really showing anything to warrant Haas extending the contract. And if the reports are what they say, there could be some sort of driver change that comes before the end of the year. Could that be Rafael Kamara, who has been doing exceptionally well in F2, just won the feature race today at Barcelona, to be fair, with a brilliant strategy in himself. Ferrari product, Ferrari victory. Maybe it was written. Maybe they learned from what Kamara done and like, you know what? We see you, boy. We're going to emulate that with Lewis, whatever happens. But Ocon really does need to have some better races. Behrman DNF'd. There was a technical issue with the car, so unfortunate for him. Alonso and Stroll, I believe there were both technical issues as well. I never believed that Aston Martin were going to finish the race. I mean, thank goodness that Alonso managed to stop his car on track instead of actually taking it all the way to the pits, because that brought out the VSC, which helped Lewis. But even without the VSC, if Lewis had pitted when he had pitted, or if Lewis had extended a few more laps and had pitted, by the time he would have come out, if there was no VSC, he would have been roughly 8 seconds behind Russell. Lewis Hamilton won the race by 20 seconds. So there would have been the 11-second gap. Yes, there is the idea of, it's one thing to catch up and it's another thing to pass. But with the pace advantage they had, there was no stopping him realistically. And Russell wasn't great at defending anyway. Look at what happened to him and Antonelli. So it wasn't a showing. Does George Russell have what it takes to be the champion? From this race, no. From this race, I don't think so. I was saying it, he had to outperform Kimi. Yes, he did outperform Kimi because Kimi DNF'd. But if you actually watch the race itself, I think Kimi had his number. Kimi was behind him for most of the race, but when it mattered most, Kimi made the pass. Kimi was going to go on and secure that P2. He was 1.5 seconds clear before the DNF. So I genuinely believe that Kimi Antonelli has George Russell's number. And it will probably be the same thing in Austria. George Russell said he felt good, but I don't think he felt as good as Kimi. Kimi was going to be the dominant driver this race if he hadn't DNF'd. So the gap closes in the title race. He's now 19. Oh, sorry. He's now 41 seconds. He's now 41 points ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Kimi Antonelli is now 41 points ahead of Lewis Hamilton, and he is now, I believe, it is 52 or 50 points, maybe 50 points ahead of George Russell. That is, it's coming down. It's coming down. I mean, I'm more confident. It's crazy. Even though they're in the same machine, I'm more confident that Lewis Hamilton could catch up to Kimi Antonelli than I am of George Russell, who's meant to be the senior driver, catching up to Kimi Antonelli. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do at George Russell's side of the garage. They're going to need to find something for him to outperform Kimi. But I'm going to leave it with this. Lewis Hamilton, what a man. What a drive. Championship talent. That right there was a championship winning style race. Strategy, he knew the car, he doesn't have the best car on the grid, but the strategy was done so perfectly. The tyres were managed so well. This is the Lewis Hamilton of old. This is the Lewis Hamilton we love to see. It's only going to get better from here. Ferrari's upgrade packages work perfectly, and they still have the ADUO upgrades to come, as well as further upgrades throughout the season. So look forward to more competitive action and look forward to a tight title battle this season. I think those three at the very minimum, that'll be a close battle. If Leclerc and Co can maybe catch up as well, it'll be a great group battle. But as it stands right now, the front three of Kimi, Lewis, Russell, they're going to be battling for a while. Austria next. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, as I always say, like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought of the race. Did you think that Lewis Hamilton was a bit lucky? I personally don't. I think it was all down to brilliant driving. Do you think Norris and Piastri could have done better? Where was Max in all of this? Where was Hadjar in all of this? Hadjar had a terrible start. Went to the back of the grid, basically, but then managed to claw it back to, I think, P7, P8. So brilliant from him in a recovery sense of things, but where was he at the start? What happened to him? Will we see them improve next week? In 2 weeks. This is going to be Austria, which is, again, the Red Bull ring. Will Red Bull show that they have the most powerful powertrain? Will they be able to show their performance? Let me know what you think. This is F1 Soze signing out. Peace.